Ooh boy, we certainly covered a lot of ground in this episode, to say the least. This is how you do a season finale. Last week I discussed of how you do a cliffhanger with episode 7, but episode 8, the season finale. Looking on Instagram today, I see they're already beginning filming for season 2, or they're getting things ready for season 2 at the very least. It's going to be very difficult to wait for season 2. I am hoping that it does not take too long. Certain shows have taken a very, very long time to get season 2s, especially the Marvel shows on Netflix. But I think we're dealing with Disney right here. We're definitely probably going to get an expedited season 2. Just a personal opinion, just a personal take from me. So let's discuss this episode. First of all, there was a lot to digest here, but everything showing the excellent writing on this show. It is, everything is so well explained and layered. You've got questions, but never really as far as like the plot goes. You have the wonder that's associated with Star Wars still. Where are we going to go from this point at the end of the episode? You're going to ask yourself, where do we go from here? You kind of know where it's going. You could kind of guess, but the excitement is and the anticipation is going to kill you at the end of this episode, because you're not going to be able to wait unless you weren't enjoying this show and you weren't sold on it up to this point. Then I'm seeing there's some people who are like saying that the show is overrated, but that's par for the course when it comes to Star Wars. I'm not surprised that there's already naysayers out there saying that it's overrated, because come on, it's Star Wars, and I've already ranted extensively about that. But for the most part, this is receiving a higher and more positive response, I would say, than the sequel trilogy as a whole, probably. At least better than Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. So we could at least say that. Now, before we get started, let me just say that, there's going to be massive spoilers in this. That's how I do reviews here on this channel. So if you haven't seen episode 8, takes 40 minutes or so and go watch it, then come back here. Or if you don't care about spoilers, that's another story. If you want to go ahead and do that, I wouldn't recommend it, but we learn Mando's real name, and it's Din Djarin. We learn about Gideon, who we first seen in episode 8. I did not realize that this was Gus from Breaking Bad, and I should have known that. I love his calm demeanor. I love how this guy's pronunciation of words, and he just comes off as an authority figure, much like he did in Breaking Bad. One of my favorite shows of all time, right there. So it's the fact that he didn't. It seems like he put on just a little bit more weight, and I don't know what it was. I guess maybe just without the glasses or something. I don't know. It wasn't really hitting me last week, but here, I'm just happy to see, we've got some really good actors here, and Gideon really shows himself as a force here to be reckoned with. And once again, we've got our heroes in a really tight spot. Everyone is basically held up in the guild building. They've got nowhere to go. Gideon's got them pinned down. The IG unit comes to their rescue. Before we get there, though, I have to say I really like the opening scene with the stormtroopers. I really thought that was hilarious. These are the same two knuckleheads that grabbed the child, at the end of the episode last week. Like, it's kind of funny that they shot down the Nick Nolte character last week, and but here, like, they're kind of revealed as kind of being a bit of knuckleheads. They're kind of just thugs doing a job here. They're here to bring back the child to Gideon. So, hearing the banter between these two, and then when the IG unit approaches them, it gave me a real laugh. Also, they they show they're aiming their blasters at this little like object. It's just kind of like some piece of garbage on the floor, like some old like starship part or some machine part, and they're trying to fire their blaster, and their blaster bolt is like way off. And then you see like the guy just kind of like listens to it and shakes it, like, is everything okay with the blaster? So it kind of shows like, the stormtroopers, they always seem like they're firing and not hitting anything, and they kind of play off of that a little bit. So I thought that was kind of funny. I like, when they kind of explore some of those old tropes. Some people might not get exactly what they're doing, like if you're not like really that into Star Wars and you haven't heard those jokes about the stormtroopers, it might not hit you. But aside from that, I really like the banter and everything. And the IG unit, he ends up perishing in this at the end in such an epic fashion. So IG, comes to the rescue. The child comes to the rescue. You've holding back the flamethrower from this flamethrower trooper that Gideon sends. And meanwhile, like, I love the dialogue from Gideon as he's like kind of just mocking them. He reveals the name of Mando, Jin Darin. And not only that, but we also learn that Gideon is in part responsible for Mando's parents dying. They kind of show you the whole flashback, which I like, that we saw kind of what happened to the parents. Now we get to see what happened to Mando. We see that the Mandalorians came to rescue him when they took him in as a foundling. So I love that, this is really good storytelling. Everything kind of falls into place for the season finale. The IG unit ends up healing Mando when he gets hurt really bad at the hands of Gideon. He shoots like a machinery or generator box, and it explodes, knocking him backwards. He's bleeding underneath the helmet. The only way that he can be healed is by taking the helmet off, and he won't, let anybody touch him. But with the IG unit offers it to him, he thinks that the IG unit still wants to kill him. Mando's been very opposed to droids. And if you've been paying attention to the flashbacks, you know that it's basically the super battle droids. Those are the ones that were responsible for killing his parents. So, he's opposed to droids. He thinks that they're all just, bad, and he doesn't trust them. And he says, don't remove my helmet. He says, another living thing has not seen me since I put it on. But the IG unit then says, but I'm not a living thing. So he lets him take the helmet off. We finally get to see Pedro Pascal. Finally get to see Mando's face. He heals him up. And now Mando's got a totally different outlook on droids. One just saved his life. Then they come to a scene when they're pinned down once again, and the only way that they could get out of this is the IG unit has to self-destruct, and he does that in a very emotional scene, and you even hear that, Mando gets choked up, about this scene. It was very, very well done. And then, he explodes. We remember in the first episode when, he's threatening to self-destruct, he still has that protocol lodged away in his memory banks. It's like a secondary program. He could still go back to it. And he does. It kills all the stormtroopers. But Gideon is not done yet. He comes swooping in on this TIE fighter. Early in the episode, the blacksmith, they find her underground, the sewer system. The one that gave Mando all his armor and everything. She gives him his jetpack, finally. We also get to see the blacksmith in action. That's pretty awesome. She starts cracking stormtroopers' helmets with her mallet. I've never seen, like, the armor actually, like, cracking. We've never seen that before. We've seen them get hit with blasters and stuff like that. But this is the first time we've actually seen the armor getting, like, broken apart. It looked pretty cool. So Gideon comes screeching in on this TIE fighter. We see Mando just blast off with the jetpack. He he hits the wire onto the TIE fighter. He's being dragged around in the air. He climbs on top of the TIE fighter, starts shooting at it. Then he puts some charges on the top. It explodes. The TIE fighter goes careening down into the ground. We've never seen anything like that up to this point. We've only like heard of things like this in the novels and and in the cartoons, but we've never seen like anyone actually in like any of the live action stuff climb on top of one of the ships or like the fighters. And I thought it was awesome that they actually finally depicted this on screen, with live actors. It was awesome. So, and then at the end, we see that, Mando has been told by the blacksmith, now you've got to take this child. It's your responsibility. It's a foundling. You have to care for it. She also talks about an interesting tale of, the Jedis and the Mandalorians battling it out in the past. She also talks about how, she knows of the force users that the child is a part of, which, now it's going to be Mando's responsibility to find the child's home planet. So, this is going to be a long-running series. I'm not expecting in season 2 for us to find, the child's home planet. We're not going to find the species of Yoda just yet. But it's really interesting to think about it. Like, are we going to finally find out what Yoda's species is? I thought it's really interesting because sometimes you forget that almost every single character in Star Wars has a race or some type of, alien race that they identify with. Most of them anyway. But George Lucas did not even assign a species to Yoda, which kind of leads to the mystical nature of it. So, I'm kind of conflicted. Do we want to know what the race is of Yoda, or is it kind of just interesting that this is still kind of an unnamed thing? I think it's kind of cool that we have a character that's very mysterious. We don't know its name. People are just kind of, it's not Yoda, obviously. We don't know if it's Yoda reincarnated or what it is. We just know it's a creature. We're calling it the child, the baby Yoda, because there's no other real significant name for it. The official name is pretty much the child, but, creators on the show have alluded to the fact that it does in fact have a name. It will be named in the future. But I'm not really excited to have a name. I kind of like the child. I kind of like that mystical factor to it that we still don't know a whole season in what this thing is called. Like I said, that adds to the mystical nature of Star Wars. I don't like always getting answers right away. And this is got to be explained in depth. I like that the show explains what it wants to do. We know the mission in mind. We see at the end that Gideon then cuts open his TIE fighter. He's very much alive, and he's got this cool, like, weird-looking lightsaber. So that really brings to mind, so is he a Sith? Well, I didn't see him use the Force. I don't see any evidence of that. Or is he just kind of using a lightsaber? I'm going to guess that he probably is a Sith of some sort. I'm not sure if they even know yet, what's going on with this character. But be that as it may, we know that Mando is going to be on the run from Gideon. And, he's going to be, having the child in tow. And there's going to be a lot of adventures that are going to unfold. And so I'm really interested to see where they take this series. This was an excellent episode with so much happening. We learned a lot. We learned about that the Mandalorians are very much aware of the child's race, that there's history there with the Jedis. And, kind of when the blacksmith is talking, she's heard of this race. She's talking more about the Jedis, but how much does she really know about it? Mando doesn't really ask questions. There's really not enough time to stop and chat. He just kind of gets the information that he needs, and he knows that it's the responsibility. He doesn't really ask too many questions about the lore, but I like that he didn't, because like I said, that leaves a lot of mystery to it. And, you know, if they want to explain a little bit in season 2, but I hope they still keep some of that mystery factor. I like this mysterious aura around Yoda's species, and we're still not even sure, like, you know, is this the reincarnation of Yoda, or is this just a totally different creature? Maybe they're birthed out of the Force. It would be awesome to really, you know, to find that out, maybe. But, you know, it's kind of like, I'm almost kind of looking forward to not finding out the answer to that, because, I mean, just the adventure and everything surrounding it is good enough for me. And I kind of like that. You know, isn't it kind of cool that we get to fan theorize about this and just kind of discuss it without knowing for a fact? And there's a lot of different things like that in Star Wars, and I like that. The more mystery, the better. You don't want to make it too mystery where it's so open-ended that it seems lazy, that there's, you know, no explanation to the story and the characters. But you want to leave just enough, you know, where it keeps you guessing. And I think that they've found that happy medium here in The Mandalorian, which makes it oh so Star Wars. And so, guys, well, let me know what you thought of the first season. What did you think of this episode? Let me know down below in the comments. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.